11 of the 15 rounds beginning tonight at Watkins Glen International. Thursday night thunder about to go green with the points leader and the challenger on the front row. Matt Seeger and Jacob Bradley will share the start of this race. Bradley in control, waits for the signal. The BMW pulls off. And we're green at Watkins Glen. Chuck Sweeting's off. One car, two cars making contact. Sweeting goes around. The track briefly blocked. Richie Catania looks like he's also gotten involved in this one. Jacob Bradley pulling out to the lead. Aaron Edwards behind Matt Seeger in that third position. Sears and Estes in the Tropicana and the Oreos machine. Rounding out the top five in the Jimmy Johnson Foundation 5-0 Lowe's machine. Pulls out of the carousel with a 0.4 of a second gap on Matt Seeger. Edwards in third in that number 1 Toyota Camry. We'll go back to see what happened to Chuck Sweeting in the black and purple 5-7. So far, the top five remain unmoved. Briley Wright slow out of that final corner, as is Thomas Andrews. They run 6th and 7th, respectively. Colin McDonough having issues. He went off the racetrack in that 39. Have a look. Seth Wansing is in. We just lost grip and just goes off. Let's see what happened to Chuck Sweeting in that 5-7. Oh, he's already off the track in turn number 2. Skating right across everybody. Colin McDonough just gets a bit of a love tap. Let's go back to live pictures. Looking at the top 2. There's Jake Bradley. There's Matt Seeger and the one of Aaron Edwards behind him. John Honeybrink with issues in the 2-0. The NVIDIA machine wide out of the carousel, so much so that Chuck Sweeting is going to get around him, and you see him go around again. This is the NVIDIA machine into the bus stop. Takes a really hard hop over the first rumble strip and just struggles to control it. Goes around again in the carousel. And the 2-0. Will skate and throw some more smoke into the air. Not the ideal start for Honeybrink. Matt Seeger fighting for second right now. Behind him, the number 1 of Aaron Edwards, really making his Thursday night quite busy. Tom Sears up 1 place from where he started. He's in 4th. Tanner Lockhart in the house saying it's a rough start for some of these drivers tonight. Talk about it, Tan. You know exactly what's going on. Briley Wright struggling to get any higher than 6th. Right now up 3 places. So is Richie Catania, despite the damage all over the front end of the DuPont Chevrolet. Let's go on board. Richie goes to the inside. He makes light work of Larry, the 96 Commander's Impala. Now down to that 10th position. Richie looks like he lost control of the 24 again, just as he takes the position from Larry Eberhard. Let's have a look. He's already damaged, and he's going to find more damage out of the final corner. And Larry says thank you very much. 6 drivers went green that last time around. Their fastest personal laps. Fastest lap of the race so far goes to Jake Bradley. John Fry's in the chat saying the Raiders get Genty. That's the... correct me if I'm wrong, Fry Dog. That's the running back out of Boise State. Is that right? I saw Cam Ward from my Hurricanes went to the Titans. I'm excited about that. After that, just anybody else that comes from Miami and then goes to the Lions. That's pretty much it. At the front, Jacob Bradley making light work of the race. Will leave him be and go back to more pressing matters. Matt Seeger only half a second ahead of Aaron Edwards, and Tom Sears now finding that Toby Estes has crept under his shadow more and more in these last few laps. Tom Sears watching Aaron Edwards slip away, and Toby Estes quicker than Tom Sears in the last 2 laps. We'll see what the Kentucky pilot can do against the Massachusetts man. Battles all over the track in these first 6 laps now on the board. Matt Seeger barely holding on to second, and Tom Sears barely holding on to the 4th position. Further back, Larry Eberhard, Richie Catania, Chuck Sweeting, all involved in a squabble. For the 9th position, Larry in the 96 Commander's machine, Richie Catania, who was in 10th in the DuPont Monte Carlo, goes off, and Chuck Sweeting in the unmarked reflective 57 now moves into the bottom of the top 10. Colin McDonough went green that last time around. Briley Wright ahead of him in the DuPont Chevrolet, hopping over those rumble strips. And we'll see if Colin can catch back up to the 29. John Fry asking how Ethan's doing. Not in this race. Absent from the roster tonight, and kind of disappointing because if you look at the points coming into this race, Ethan Winters is climbing, making his way through. He finds himself tied for 9th with Bren Roberts, who's also not in tonight's race. Tommy Withers also absent, so Larry Eberhard looking to jump up through the ranks. He just needs to keep the car on the racetrack and take the checkered flag. 2nd and 3rd. Nose to tail. Matt Seeger, I wonder if he's just entertaining the company of the fellow Camry behind him. Aaron Edwards could be saving the car, not trying to push anything early, just trying to almost be a nuisance to Matt Seeger, force a mistake out of the Driven Car Wash Camry. Shout out to Driven, shout out to all the folks in the Illinois area. And Tanner Lockhart can tell you more about Driven Car Wash. How many locations do you have now, Tanner? Briley Wright and Colin McDonough, they're going to go to work. Briley now has to play defense against the 39. McDonough to the inside, but he won't be able to make it stick. So now out of turn number 1, McDonough looks again. Briley Wright with no defense out of turn number 1. And the Kentucky pilot down to 7th. Closing soon says, still here in spirit. Didn't have enough time this week to put in some practice. That's all right. Glad to have you here. As a matter of fact, need to grab another beverage here. And closing soon says, I'll be there next week. Ethan Winters, for those that don't know. Next week, Thursday Night Thunder running at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And in 2 weeks, Sweet Home, Alabama, as TNT runs round 13 of 15 at the Talladega Superspeedway. So a short track and a really long track. Both excellent races if you're a fan. Thomas Andrews running in the 8th position. He briefly decided to take a detour through the bus stop. Can't drive there, Tommy. All right. The Miller Lite Dodge continues undisturbed. I should probably charge those batteries. Toby Estes into the 8, barely holding on to Tom Sears behind him. This is 4th and 5th. Really different lines through the bus stop as well. You see Tom Sears hugging the left-hand rumble strips in the bus stop, and Toby Estes kind of going his own way. The battle for second still close, but this time it's the other way around. On lap number 8, Aaron Edwards was able to get around Matt Seeger. Watch this. Out of the carousel, just with a head full of steam. He wins the drag race into the penultimate corner, and the number 1 moves into the number 2. It goes Jake Bradley, Aaron Edwards, Matt Seeger, 1, 2, 3. Tom Sears looking to be the 4. You can hear the tires squealing through the S's. He is on it. Let's go on board with the 14. Tom Sears loses it out of the final corner. He goes right into the wall. Chuck Sweeting also with an issue in the bus stop. Richie Catania going to go past him. Chuck's back on the racetrack. And the car's visibly damaged. Let's have a look and see what happened to Chuck. Not a great race for him so far. Does he just lose the car under braking? Absolutely. Absolutely. 57 goes for a ride, and luckily he manages to hit nothing in the bus stop. And like a gentleman, slowing his re-entry back onto the track, Seth Wanting in the number 9 Pepsi Chevrolet gets around him. Chuck Sweeting back up to speed. Grandma Jeannie in the house says she misses seeing Noah race. Grandma Jeannie, I promise you, I tried talking to Noah. I tried getting him to race tonight. He said that he didn't want to race. He chose to skip this one. So that's, you got to have a word with that boy. See what's going on. Why is he ditching his friends at Thursday Night Thunder? Hopefully he's doing better things. How about 2 Jeff Gordon cars doing battle? When's the last time you saw this? Richie Catania in the 2-4 DuPont machine. Seth Wansing in the number 9 Pepsi Monte Carlo. This is for the 9th position. Tom Sears is in the pits, probably after damaging the left-hand side of his car, and that is extremely early. The Drip Diecast and Collectibles Track Facts estimating drivers are going to go between 17 and 22 laps on one tank of fuel, and that is a typo for tonight's race length. It is 46 laps, not the 45. Seth Wansing now ahead of Tom Sears in that 9th position. He's back on the track after coming down on lap 11. Fresh tires, enough fuel for car 14, and the RaceArc's Tropicana Supra will now begin his pursuit of the Pepsi DuPont Chevrolet. John Honeybrink running in 13th. 1 lap off the pace. If the caution comes out, he gets his lap back. Charles Sweeting in the 57 has been involved in a couple incidents tonight. The most recent, the easier of the two. Check out what happened to Chucky on lap number 1. Just gets loose on the inside of Toby Estes. Let's try and get a better angle. What happened to Dear Chuck? There you can see better. He comes back onto the racetrack with a bunch of mess on his tires. Just clips the 39. Richie Catania just avoids him. Let's go on board with Richie Catania while this is going on. And that's the sound of Richie crunching against the barriers. That's where he picked up his damage very nearly. Richie picks up the cold trickle move of the race. Maybe next time, Rich. And for those that don't know, if you've never seen a cold trickle move of the race, I think it's been quite a while since we awarded one, but the cold trickle award is given out when a driver drives through an oncoming wreck, often in a Brave style, without lifting, without too much braking. He makes it through with no contact. Colin McDonough almost made it through. Richie almost made it through. So if somebody else drives through a car that would otherwise, drives through a crash that they would otherwise be involved in, there's your cold trickle move of the race. Pit stops looming. Drivers expected to go between 17 and 46 laps. I'm sorry, 17 and 22 laps on a tank of fuel. 46 laps is the race distance. Jake Bradley leading by 6 seconds over Aaron Edwards, who's now extended his gap to 3 seconds ahead of Matt Seeger. Toby Estes runs in 4th. And the lovely Colin McDonough rounds out the top 5, 28 seconds behind the race leader. Briley Wright's going to make it interesting, though. Let's ride on board with the 29. That's a lap on board the 2.9, and that's 2.45 miles around the hills, just on the southern tip of Seneca Lake in Watkins Glen, New York. 30 laps to go. Next time by, Briley Wright rolls in the 5th position, trying to chase down Colin McDonough to take 4th. we're seeing a lot of drivers get loose out of the corners here, and I just don't know if the track is lacking grip, if the drivers are trying to put too much boot into the throttle coming out of the corner, just too much power, and they can't control the race car. But we're missing a couple of drivers trying to keep it on the straight and narrow. Jacob Bradley decides he's going to come in on lap 17. And the pit window is open. Colin McDonough is also into the pits. So the top three have not pitted. Aaron Edwards, Briley Wright in the 16, Matt Seeger in the 16, Briley Wright in the 2.9 Goodwrench Chevrolet, all yet to come into the pits. Richie Catania also in that group. Chuck Sweeting in the 57. And my man Larry Eberhard in the Commander's Impala. Still have not visited the pits. That changes now for Chuck Sweeting. Larry Eberhard will stay out. So your new leader, Aaron Edwards, now dives down into the pits. Matt Seeger will do the same. And now, things just got interesting. Jacob Bradley coming down on lap 16. No. Was it 16 here? Let's... Interesting, my timing must be off because the stint length shows that Jacob Bradley is still on his original stint. He's going to rejoin the race in the 3rd position, but now that switches back to the top. Jake Bradley passing Matt Seeger and Aaron Edwards. Well, that's strange. But anyway, Jacob Bradley does come in on lap 16. Matt Seeger, Aaron Edwards coming in the lap after that. Regardless, it's going to be a 2-stop race for everybody if we're coming in on 17. So the quick math will tell you drivers will be expected to pit on lap 34 and then be good to go to the end. Jacob Bradley now on fresh tires will fly around the racetrack, and he is going to try and extend that lead as much as possible. Now 7.5 seconds back to Aaron Edwards. Matt Seeger in 3rd with Toby Estes right behind him for 4th. Let's go on board with the 8 Oreo machine. Drivers spread out once again. 19 to 46 laps underway at iRacing's Watkins Glen. Seth Wansing now comes into the pits, and it looks like one car just flew off the racetrack. Was that Colin McDonough? Anyway, Seth Wansing is now on his way out of the pits. And the number 9 Pepsi machine is going to rejoin in that 9th position. Season 4 champion Thomas Andrews will now take over 8th. Jacob Bradley goes purple. 1:10.68 after the pits. That is his fastest lap and the fastest lap of this race so far. Five Lowe's machine continues to move. Aaron Edwards did put in his personal best, 1:11.25. Look at him shake the tail. Now coming out from behind, Richie Catania down the back straight. The DuPont Chevrolet will kindly let Aaron Edwards move forward. John Fry says he's a cheat code, talking about Jacob Bradley in that 5-0. Aaron Edwards doing everything he can, swinging the race car around these rumble strips as fast as he can. And So far, it's a 9.5-second gap from second to first. However, anything is possible. A caution could come out late. We still have one more pit stop. This race is not over by any means at all. Bradley into turn number 1. Aaron Edwards now onto the straight with that Camry nose lifted high in the air. Now 2.5 seconds ahead of Matt Seeger. Thomas Andrews and Seth Wansing may briefly be reacquainted, but it looks like Seth had the pleasure of getting around Thomas Andrews. Let's see what happened to the 9 Pepsi car. Andrews just kindly removes himself out of Wansing's way, and the number 9 jumps ahead into the 8th position. Let's see what happened to Larry Eberhard. This is on lap 19. And he jumps to the pits. Larry Eberhard maybe trying to get the race car fixed there. 25 laps remain at Watkins Glen. John Honeybrink looks like he's crashed as well. The NVIDIA machine will jump to the pits. And he might just be calling it a night. Let's see what happens. Really wide out of the carousel. And not how we wanted that one to go. Tough night for a lot of drivers. It might only be tougher next week. We're going to Bristol. That is not by any means an easy racetrack. Just because there's no right turns and it's 2 miles shorter than this joint does not make it easier. As a matter of fact, you have no peace. You have no space to yourself at Bristol. When there's a car next to you, there's always a car next to you. It's 100% just bumper to bumper driving. Not like here. Not like where we'll have plenty of space to ourselves. Tom Sears, he can't get enough space on the racetrack. He's going to go off in the carousel. Watch the 14. Missed the wall by a foot. Maybe not even that. I'm sure he, like many others, are going to be relieved to be out of here. Not this guy. Jacob Bradley wants to continue racking up the wins. Aaron Edwards wants to keep adding medals to his chest. And coming into this 11th round of competition, Matt Seeger watches the points lead start to dance away. 447 to his 383. And if my math is right, that's 64 points, I believe. 64 points the difference coming into this round here. And I think, I can't speak for him, but I think at this point, Seeger really just wants that first win. Win first, and then he can think about any championships second. But there's a lot of guys that have tried and tried and tried to get their first win. We say it week in and week out. When it happens, it will be one of the hardest earned wins in TNT history. Cannot be denied. Over the last 5 laps, Matt Seeger and Toby Estes just trying to get a bit closer acquainted. Toby Estes last time around quicker than Matt Seeger by 1/10. And Tom Sears a second slower than Toby Estes that last time around with 23 laps to go. Now again, keep in mind, every driver must pit again. We're approximately 10 laps away from pit stops sooner for some other competitors. Larry Eberhard has rejoined the race. Good to see the 96 still fighting. Seth Wansing goes green, 1:11.82. He's trying to get closer to the 29 of Briley Wright. He finds himself 6 seconds behind Colin McDonough, who is also up 2 places from where he started, and the 39 machine. Ceased 29 approaching in the distance over these last 5 laps. Briley Wright has not been consistently quicker than Colin McDonough, but he's knocking on the door. Looking at the NFL draft, right now it looks like the Chicago Bears are on the clock. Frydog, you're also watching the NFL draft as well. Who do you have your eye on? Put it in the chat. Let me know who you've got your eye on, who you're expecting to be huge in the NFL this upcoming year. Looks like Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, is going to Chicago, 10th in this round, and San Francisco is going to be next. John Fry says he's got his eye on Will Johnson, the DB out of Michigan. And Fry, I don't know, are you a Michigan fan? I can't remember who you like in college football. For me, I like Miami. I like Michigan. And, yeah, John Fry is also a Michigan fan as well. Same as Tommy Withers. He's also a big Michigan fan. Not in tonight's roster, though. Was hoping Withers would show up. While we're talking draft, while we're talking NFL, drop it in the chat. Let me know who you've got your eye on. Let me know who you're expecting to see. Wonder who Jacob Bradley roots for in college football. John Fry talking about being at that Final Four match where Chris Webber called the timeout where there were no timeouts, and that's probably one of the most infamous moments out of the Fab Five. Richie Catania trying to mow the lawn in the bus stop. Let's see what happened to the 24 machine. This is the DuPont Monte Carlo on lap 25. Wow. Forget mowing the lawn. He just took the right front off of the race car. Mama Vol's in the house. Watch this. And Richie looks like he's going to have to repair that race car, and he will. Tom Sears will get around Richie Catania, not for position. The Massachusetts pilot finds himself in 5th, where he started. 15 seconds behind Toby Estes with 1:09 at the line. Next time by. Briley Wright going wide out of the penultimate corner. He last pitted on lap 17. Seth Wansing pitted on lap 18. We'll see if there's any fuel saving in mind. I can't imagine anyone can make this on one stop. If anybody could, it would be Seth Wansing, but he's got to save a tremendous amount of fuel, and I really don't think it's possible. Jake Bradley looking to put him a lap down. Richie Catania rejoins the racetrack. And the 2-4 looks beautiful, bright, shiny, and Richie's ready to put down a fast lap. Mama Vols in the chat as well. We were just talking about the NFL draft and our favorite college teams before you showed up. We know you're a big fan of the Crimson Tide as well. Is there anybody you're looking to see in the NFL draft tonight? Season 4 champion Thomas Andrews up 1 place from where he started. He sits in 9th. And he gets loose out of the S's and almost puts it into the wall. Talk about a nice save. Looks like he already put the left side of the race car into the wall. Watch as he comes by. Dents, scrapes, and the chrome doesn't help hide a lot of those dents, Tommy. Goodness. Nevertheless, he soldiers on in a battered and bruised Miller Lite Dodge. He's going to now mow some of the lawn, and I think he's really struggling to drive this race car, but he soldiers on. Either way, maybe he'll come in and get it repaired. Maybe he'll, well, no, he's not going to come in and get it repaired. He's going to continue to skate and tail whip all over this place. Let's go on board with it, too. So far, so good for the number 2, Thomas Andrews. 17 laps to go, and I think the drivers now are just waiting to see who blinks first. Approximately 6 laps away from green flag pit stops. Toby Estes goes really wide out of the penultimate corner. He keeps his race car moving at a good pace. Remember when I said Richie Catania was going to come back out and put a fast lap? He does exactly that. 1:13.14 for the North Floridian. And the DuPont Monte Carlo looking to rise maybe up to a 4th position from where he started. Tom Sears is our first taker. He's going to bring the Tropicana Supra into the pits for tires, fuel, and enough to make the run to the end. 3rd place not out of the question for Tom Sears, provided that he has a great exit out of the pits. Matt Seeger 6 seconds behind Aaron Edwards, who almost puts his race car against the wall out of the carousel. Tom Sears will rejoin the racetrack with Aaron Edwards in the number 1 Camry coming out of the pits, and we'll see just how good these new tires are compared to the old tires. Sears already up the hill in turn number 1. There's Aaron Edwards in the number 1 car. Last time around, Aaron Edwards, 1:12.36. Race leader Jacob Bradley, 1:12.13, so only 0.2 difference between 2nd and 1st as we approach the final 15. Two more takers for pit lane, Colin McDonough and Briley Wright. Seth Wansing now coming out of the final corner, trying to stay on the lead lap, and he shall, because the race leader, Jacob Bradley, is into the pits. So now we'll see what Aaron Edwards does. He comes out of the final corner. He will not come down into the pits, and Aaron Edwards will now be your new leader at Watkins Glen. 14 to go. Next time by. Every time you see one of these race cars jump over those rumble strips, you think this is the time that they're finally going to send the car into space and absolutely wreck it. But no, they managed to hold on every single time. Going through the NASCAR Reddit today, I saw something about a new flap going to be added to the A-post on the Cup cars, possibly at Daytona this August. Not sure if anyone else has seen this, but if you have seen ideas, if you have seen renders of this, Let's talk about it. Put it in the chat and tell me just what you think of this and where you think NASCAR's headed with the aerodynamics, especially trying to keep these cars on the ground at the drafting tracks like Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega. I mean, it's one thing to see it in sim racing, but it's definitely an entirely different story when it happens at a real race. So Aaron Edwards continues to stay out as the race leader. Jacob Bradley rejoins in the third position. Last time around, Aaron Edwards, 1:12.83. He will stay out again, tried to best that time. Matt Seeger, 7 seconds off of that pace. Seeger is in. The driven car wash Camry decides it's his time to come on down. Jacob Bradley is 23 seconds behind the leader. 1:12.72 was the last time for for Aaron Edwards. Completing lap 33, Jacob Bradley. 1:10.62. Bradley goes quickest again, a purple lap time. His personal best and the race best time, a minute 10:62. That's 6/10 of a second quicker than Aaron Edwards' best time, and 2 seconds faster than the last time Aaron Edwards posted on the clock. A minute 10:62. Blistering time. Meanwhile, Richie Catania goes around in the 24. Aaron Edwards comes into the pits. Richie slides out of turn number 2 and doesn't hit a thing. Aaron is in. Jacob Bradley will take over the race lead. So it will be a race for second place. Matt Seeger through the carousel now, hoping that he can get just close enough to Aaron Edwards to battle for that second position. Meanwhile, Toby Estes is starting to creep up in Matt Seeger's shadow. 2.2 seconds the gap with 11 laps to go. Edwards is out. Where's Seeger? Through turn number 1. There's Seeger now entering the corner. Will he have enough speed? Edwards is already on the move, and he says, I'm out of here. The gap shrinks. Toby Estes now creeping inside. 2 seconds to Matt Seeger's back bumper, and this is a battle for the podium positions. And don't forget, it's not all about the championship. Second and third are prize-winning positions, money-winning positions as well. Toby Estes, running a part-time season, is 14th in the points right now. Well out of the money positions, if you will, but definitely wants that podium. And he's going to chase it. Then it's 9 at the line. Matt Seeger pitting on lap 31. Looks like that gap is no longer shrinking. Seeger now starting to extend his third place advantage back to Toby Estes. Richie Catania looks like he slid off the racetrack again, this time on lap 33. Just going wide on penultimate. Extremely wide, but he keeps it all right. Sometimes these cars just look incredible in the sunlight. They really do. iRacing is a pretty special thing. Even fictional paint schemes, like the Tom Sears Tropicana machine. At least I'm pretty sure that's a fictional paint scheme, the 1-4 machine. 19 seconds behind Toby Estes in 4th, who is now closed to within 2 seconds on Matt Seeger in 3rd. And these two are going back and forth for that final position. Let's go on board with the 8 car. Thomas Andrews just briefly getting in the way of that exchange. Matt Seeger 1.9 seconds ahead of Toby Estes. Eight to go. Next time by. This is going to be a great battle for that 3rd spot. It's going to be fantastic. Matt Seeger trying to gain as many points as he can, trying to stay in the money positions. 1 through 3 are the money-paying positions. Ethan Winters in the chat asking, what's the update? He's just joining. Well, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Jacob Bradley is leading this race by quite a margin. Aaron Edwards is 15 seconds off of that. Matt Seeger is 7 seconds off Aaron Edwards. And trying to get around the 9.6 of Larry Eberhard. Edwards really sliding the race car through the carousel. I thought briefly he might have lost it. Toby Estes yo-yoing back and forth from 1.9 to 2 seconds between himself and Matt Seeger. Toby went green last time around, 1:11.52. Toby ran a personal best. Closing now is saying he's Ethan Winter's friend. I thought he was Ethan. That's my fault. No worries. We'll see what Toby puts up this time. Last time around, 1:11.52 as Larry Eberhard is in the pits. This time around, 1:12.17. A couple of tenths slower, but still catching up to Matt Seeger. 1.8 seconds, that gap. Fans, if you see some of these paint schemes and you love what you see, don't forget you can have some of these paint schemes in your own hands. Check out our friends over at Drip Diecasts and Collectibles, your #1 eBay store for all sorts of NASCAR memorabilia. That's Drip Diecasts and Collectibles, your #1 store for all sorts of NASCAR memorabilia and more. I'm going to put the link in the chat here. ebay.com/STR/Drip Diecasts. They've been supporting us for 10 seasons and then some. We want to support the people that support us. Get a gift for yourself, a gift for somebody you love, a gift for somebody you don't love. It doesn't matter. If you want a piece of NASCAR memorabilia, if you love that NASCAR history and you want one of these awesome paint schemes in your hands, check out Drip Diecast and Collectibles on eBay. They are your #1 store for all types of NASCAR memorabilia and more. ebay.com/STR/Drip Diecasts. Jake Bradley cruising to a strong victory. Aaron Edwards extending his gap over Matt Seeger, and Toby Estes just can't get any closer than 1.9 seconds. And Matt Seeger probably just skillfully keeping Toby at bay. Aaron Edwards goes green, 1:11.21, his personal best. Lurker in the chat looking to join the ARC's Discord. We are a Discord of racing enthusiasts, definitely. If you're an iRacer and you intend on racing with us, absolutely check us out on Discord. You can find us at ARCS, that's ARCS, at the Thursday Night Thunder section in the ARCS Discord. Matt Seeger watching that little blue dot just disappear in his rear view mirror, and Toby might have used up the magic, pitting on lap 31. Closing now, asking, where has Elrich George been? Elrich, boss, for those that know, running a part-time season this year in TNT. So not a part of our Watkins Glen festivities tonight. Hopefully, he'll be a part of the action we have going on at Bristol next week. Talladega the week after that. So Bristol next Thursday night, 8:40 p.m. right here. And Talladega a fortnight from now. And Matt Seeger now cruising home to that bronze medal. You know, provided he holds on to it for the next 4.5 laps. Nothing is ever guaranteed. We can't start counting chickens now. 16 and the 8 still have to fight for that third spot. Tom Sears well behind Toby Estes, but he looks like he's going to wrap up that 5th place if he can also stay out of trouble. Closing soon says, my brother roots for Elrich George over me. How do you like that? Your own family roots for somebody else instead of you. Somewhere in Nassau, there's a guy whose ears are ringing because he knows we're talking about him. That's boss. That's Elrich George all the way from the Bahamas. You got to talk to your brother. You got to say, how can you root for Boss EGO over myself? Shout out, boss. Wherever you're, whatever you're doing over there in Nassau. Hopefully, we see Elrich George at Bristol next week. If we don't see him at Bristol, I can almost bet that we're going to see him at Talladega a couple of weeks from now. That's a race that everybody loves to participate in. That's a race that everybody loves to show up for. I'm sure we're going to have a huge amount of drivers ready to race in 2 weeks at Talladega. But Bristol next week, absolutely a blast as well. Let's put a bunch of race cars in a blender and see what happens. The cars may not be real, but the racing certainly is. That's going to be a blast to see. How about this 7th place battle? We've got some late race drama. Briley Wright, half a second ahead of Seth Wansing, and this is for that 7th spot. Let's go on board with the Goodwrench machine. This is only going to get better. Look at Seth Wansing dive to the inside. Do they make contact? They just stay off each other in turn number 1. White flag is out next time by, and they almost knock. Look at them fly up the hill. Out of that S's corner, Briley Wright leads the 9 with Aaron Edwards behind him. 29 ahead of the 9 into the bus stop. Dirt being kicked up, the carousel awaits. 29 sits ahead of the Pepsi machine. Goodwrench versus Pepsi and DuPont out of the carousel, and the penultimate corner awaits. Briley Wright has the advantage. Seth Wansing starts to wiggle behind him. White flag is out. Briley just ahead of Seth Wansing. Briley with a huge shake. And this is going to be everything here. With second place, look at Aaron Edwards sliding the car out of that corner. Final time into turn number 1. Seth Wansing must be careful. He's got to really pick and choose where he's going to attack. Provided Aaron Edwards does not crash, he will collect the checkered flag this time by and get his 7th victory of the season. How about the number 9 machine, all under the shadow of Briley's 29 Goodwrench. Look at Seth into the carousel. He's got to make it stick, though. He's got to make it stick. Briley has to have something to say to Seth out of that carousel. The Kansas City pilot flying into the second to last corner. One more shot for Briley to take something away from the Pepsi machine. Final corner comes up. Briley gives it everything, and it's going to be Seth Wansing who beats Briley right to the line by 0.6 of a second as the checkered flag flies. Aaron Edwards comes home in the second position. Matt Seeger 8 seconds behind him. How about that for a great 7th place fight? And your race winner, Jacob Bradley, 7 victories this season. We're going to talk to Bradley, Edwards, Seeger as per usual. We'll have a points update, and we'll keep talking about the rest of the season. If you don't know, now you do. Bristol and Talladega in these next 2 weeks. Fry Dog cheering on Jake Bradley, a 7-time winner in TNT, and slowly marching towards the title. on the podium with our top three. A couple of technical infidelities. Everything works up until the end, man. I tell you, if it wasn't a Rick James stream, it wouldn't be a Rick James stream if something didn't go wrong at the end. But the race went great. Let's start with our bronze medalist tonight, Georgia's Matt Seeger. Shotgun Seeger. Great race tonight, but that battle with Aaron Edwards, what made the difference for the both of you?
Yeah, I just kind of all week in practice, I just didn't really have the hot lap speed that he had, and I figured Bradley had too. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I have to go back and just continue to evaluate and figure out where I was weak. I know I was weak in turn one for sure, and a couple other corners. So we'll go back. We'll take a look at it. Super proud to get on the podium, rebound after the unfortunate end to last week. So proud of the effort. Had a good car, and glad to be back on the podium.
Glad to have you. Let's go with our silver medalist, Aaron Edwards. That number one Camry was dialed in all race long, and you ended up getting to a 7-second advantage over Matt Seeger.
It was quick. That was the hardest I've ever worked for a second place finish. I gotta apologize, first of all, for the only interesting thing that happened all night. Kind of dumped Seeger there, my fault. Didn't mean to, just, run up on him super quick. And in the carousel, it's super hard to judge, where you are. And so I apologize about that. But yeah, no, we were quick and had a lot of speed in practice all week, and just tried to keep it dialed in, but really didn't have anything for Bradley there. I tried to run long, but the tire advantage didn't really mean a whole lot. So all in all, good points day. Trying to come for second in points.
We'll see what happens next week at Bristol. We'll look more at that second place points battle. For now, let's talk to our race winner. 7 victories this season for Indiana's Jacob Bradley, and another expected but impressive win tonight, JB.
Yeah, it drove pretty good. It took a while for me to kind of figure out how I need to drive the Gen 4 around here. It was probably the loosest car out of the cores I've ever driven here at the start of the race. And throughout that 1 hour practice session, took a while for me to figure out what I need to do for throttle, and then it finally started to click off there, and it was just running consistent laps from there.
Next week at Bristol, is it going to be an easy 8? We'll see what happens a week from now. Congratulations on the win, JB, and we'll see you at Thunder Valley. Fans at home, that does it for another great night at Watkins Glen. Another round of Thursday Night Thunder, and you see Jacob Bradley doing his own thing there. And just another fantastic night of racing. The season winds to an end, and you start to think, man, just a few more races to go. 4 more left on the calendar. And the run to the finish starts next week at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Next week, whenever we cannot do this without you. So until that next race, everybody, please stay safe. Do take care of each other, and we will see you all around the corner.